Devils Wednesday. This is the State of the Fan Address, episode 310, titled Tough 'em Up. Yeah, tough 'em up. Yeah, baby. Hello, Max, in the YouTube Live. As we're streaming on multiple platforms, YouTube Live, X Live, Twitch, Facebook Live, on the Let's Go Devils Network. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with Nick Villano of pucksandpitchforks.com. As the summer continues, I know I'm going on a mini vacation. I know Nick's going somewhere. College football is upon us. NFL football is upon us.
College hasn't started yet, though, right? I didn't miss that, right?
No. It's about to. I was just getting ready for my Penn State Nittany Lions, who are ranked number 2 in the country. 2 in the country. AI has picked Penn State to win the national championship. This could be my year, finally, Nick. Finally! My dreams of a national title.
I have nothing nice about Penn State to say, so I'm happy that you're happy.
Okay. I will say the same thing about West Virginia, but I say good luck to you in West Virginia. Yeah.
Listen, we'll see. There's the start of the Rich Rod experience has been middling. But we'll see. There's talent on this team, but it's, the Big 12 is a weird place too.
Oh, by the way, Steve Engel, he's listening in right now. Send me an email, Steve Engel, at sam@letsgodevils.com. Again, sam@letsgodevils.com. I need to talk to you about some postal questions. So send me an email, Stephen Engel, sam@letsgodevils.com.
Is there a Nick at letsgodevils.com? Because that email inbox is full. I haven't checked that.
Well, it costs $7.99 per mailbox. If you want one, I can get one.
Woof.
Yeah. It's a ripoff. It's a ripoff.
Everything costs everything.
Yeah.
All right. So there's 2 big topics I want to talk about tonight,
Okay.
and they're just been part of the conversation. And this is very much. We've had the most boring offseason just across hockey with nothing to talk about. So let's manufacture some topics.
Okay.
And that's fine. The first, and just to tease the 2 topics, the first one is going to be, where does the Devils' defense rank? Where does it deserve to rank? And with that ranking, should that have us looking at Tom Fitzgerald differently? The second one is, did the Devils make the right decision moving to Newark? And this is based off an article I wrote. And I want to get into that later in the podcast. There's 3 distinct choices for where in New Jersey the Devils could have put their arena. And they ended up with Newark after selling the team. It was kind of a bingo bango kind of situation. Sam, you remember probably prominently about how that all came about back in the early 2000s. But I want to get to that later. I do want to talk about the defense first. So there was an argument this week, because Travis Yost of TSN put out his defense rankings for 2025-26. There were only 2 teams that were in a tier worse than the Devils, and that's the Anaheim Ducks and the San Jose Sharks. The Devils were in a tier with basically some lottery teams. Like, let me just pull it up, just because I don't want to misquote this. I know the Devils were in a tier with LA. They were the other team that's like pseudo contender that you could put here. They're in a tier with the Flyers, with the Penguins, with the Seattle Kraken, with the St. Louis Blues, the Chicago Blackhawks, the Detroit Red Wings. Basically saying the Devils have one of the worst defensive cores going into this season. We're not talking about last year, where you had a Luke Hughes who at times looked really good, but definitely struggled with the system slightly. You had a Simone Nemitz who was not good, just bad. It was the same as Casey. It was offensive minded completely. You had a litany of injuries. I could understand saying the Devils performed not well last year. Just, if you look at it statistically and not with any context. Looking at this defense as a bottom tier unit going into the season, I think is psychotic. I just think it's crazy. What's your initial reaction, Sam? Seeing the Devils are in the bottom tier defense.
I think it's a little harsh. I wouldn't say bottom tier. I would rank them like right in the middle at best.
At best.
Yeah. They showed potential last season, Nick. But I'm not satisfied because when I think of defense, I'm thinking it's really the consistency. Just realize one thing on defense. They had to really lean on Nemitz in the end there. And some of their guys went down during the playoffs. I thought Pesci had great moments last season, but there were moments where he didn't look that good.
Sure.
And it's the consistency. Now, do they have potential to be a top 10? Absolutely. Absolutely. They did well there at the beginning of the season. So, but
they were the best defense in the league in December. The whole month.
Yeah.
Best defense in the league.
And then Marty Natchez and his acting job, and then what happened there? So I don't trust this defense, but I do trust the goaltending. So,
Sure.
And I think the goaltending did bail them out quite a few times in January, February, March, April, and on. And so, but to say the bottom of the barrel, no. There's San Jose is about bottom of the barrel. The Devils are nowhere near there.
So the top tier is Colorado, Dallas, Carolina, Edmonton, and Ottawa. Colorado, Dallas, and Carolina I'd have in their own tier. I think they're all incredible defenses. I think they're all fantastic. Yeah, I think that they're the best of the best. Edmonton, I mean, Bouchard is fantastic. I'm not that convinced about the rest of it. I just don't. I think you're whatever. Ottawa, I don't understand at all. I think Jake Sanderson is. I thought he was an overrated prospect. I think he's incredibly overrated as a player. I just think people are just like, we liked him as a prospect, so he's a good player because he got an 8x8 contract. No, I don't think he's that good. But whatever. Ignoring that, most people say that Thomas Chabot has fallen off since he signed his contract. And then there's a couple of anchors there. Don't understand that. Tier 2 is Buffalo, Florida, Toronto, Vancouver, Vegas, Winnipeg, and Washington. Buffalo is all projection. Dahlin's great, but the rest of them is, again, they got drafted high, so you're just going to assume they're good. Owen Power. Luke Hughes is better than Owen Power right now. I'm just going to say it. Luke Hughes is a better defenseman today than Owen Power is a defenseman today. Just straight up. Bowen Byram is a guy who hasn't lived up to the hype, but apparently they're giving him the benefit of the doubt. Florida's fine. I think Florida's a better defense than the Devils, and that's pretty direct. I don't think there's any. I would actually put Florida. I think Florida has an argument being in the top tier over Edmonton and Ottawa. Definitely Ottawa. If you want to put Edmonton in the top tier for how they put in the playoffs, sure. Vancouver is Quinn Hughes. I don't really understand. When Quinn Hughes went down, the defense was terrible. I like Marcus Peterson. He's really good as well. They got him in the JT Miller trade, so sure. Like, they got two really good players there. Tier 2, whatever. I would rather have the defense, the Devils defense as a whole, than the Vancouver defense as a whole. It's close, though. it's close. So like semantics, it's probably preference there. Do you want 2 of the best guys in the league and then 4 question marks, or do you want 6 or 7 guys who you can rely on? Vegas is going without Pietrangelo for the whole year. So there's a lot of concern there with that defense. I like Washington's defense, so that's fair. Toronto, like I don't get it. I feel like because he works for TSN, he just puts Toronto there. I don't like their defense at all. Like Morgan Riley is their number 1. Would you rather have Morgan Riley or Dougie Hamilton?
Dougie Hamilton.
So like their best asset, like I don't know, that seems insane to me. I don't need to go into all the other tiers, but like some of the teams in tier 3 that I think is just cuckoo that are above the Devils is Nashville, the Rangers, the Islanders, Montreal. Montreal is Lane Hudson. Like people are so excited about this kid. I get it. He had a very electric first year, but he was pretty terrible defensively for the first 4 months. Got better at the end. I'll give him that. He got better at the end when Montreal started to play better, but he was horrendous first 4 months. And if we're playing that game, Luke Hughes was incredible that last month of the season. He was almost a point per game. Like he really turned it on, and really like something clicked in him in that last month. So we're giving people credit in this list without giving the Devils credit. In Travis Yost write-up, the entire thing is about Luke Hughes and how he's make or break for this defense. And I know he's still not signed yet. I know people are starting to really sweat about that. I don't think Tom Fitzgerald is sweating until September 1st. There's no need for him to be in. Listen, it should have been done by now. I'm not giving him a pass. It seems like the easiest contract to get done. If Luke Hughes is asking for something psychotic, then that's where you're like, okay, you have to almost like ask, like, what's going on that you would ask for $11 million? That's what I'm talking about with psychotic. If Luke Hughes gets $9 million, I'm not going to like cry about it. I'm going to be like, that's too much for a guy based on what he's done, but you're paying, just like in the draft.
Future.
Right, like in the draft, like you drafted him because he has the pedigree, and there's a certain gravitas to getting brothers together that if the Devils don't draft Luke Hughes in 2021, we're not talking about this Quinn Hughes thing like it's a done deal. We're barely talking about it at all. So it's there's something there. They did it. He was probably like the 7th or 8th overall pick. You picked him 4th, and honestly, he's the best guy in that draft, in my opinion. So, good on Tom Fitzgerald. It's his biggest draft win, but it was a little bit of an obvious one. Besides that, I look at this defense as a whole. I don't know anyone who has 4 NHL quality right-handed defensemen. Like, truly, like, can play anywhere on the lines. Kovacevic can play on the top line in certain situations. If him and Siegenthaler are clicking, like, they're the best defensive defenseman pair in the league. Dougie Hamilton's still a number 1. He's played like a number 1, a lower end number 1, but still a number 1. Brett Pesce, I really analyzed this game in June. And I'm going to turn this into an article, but it's just I've had trouble formulating the direction. But the general consensus is that first month of the season where he was out, he came in and like I'm telling you, the Sheldon Keefe system is complicated, especially for defensemen. For forwards, it's a little bit more cut and dry. He just wants you to play a certain type of defense, and he does a really good job of integrating it within the offensive game. It's a little bit more complicated for the defensemen. So Luke Hughes and Brett Pesce missing that first month, I think really hurt them. You could tell that Brett Pesce was tentative at times. And I think that's what, like, I don't know, maybe it's just been too long, but like, I don't know if you remember, the biggest gripe we had with this New Jersey Devils teams was they couldn't exit the zone. They couldn't exit their defensive zone, and that was Pesci a lot. There was a lot of turnovers in the defensive zone, and it was due to again, from my covering this team for a long time, looking at defensive hockey for so long, opinion, it looked like it's because it wasn't clear where the puck was supposed to go for that first breakout, and whether people were supposed to take it out themselves or pass it out, or like what went into those decisions. And that it only felt like, how many times did the Devils hold the puck while everybody was breaking up the ice, and then they'd pass it when a guy was pressuring them, right? It was just, there was a lot of that. I think that gets cleaned up this year, whether it's from Sheldon Keefe simplifying his system a little bit so that doesn't happen as much. Like, that's really hard to do in the middle of the season. We talked about this, was it 23-24? Where the defense went down the tubes, and we're like, change the system. And I said, like, Ryan McGill changed the system. It's the worst defensive system I've ever seen. But you can't change a defensive system in the middle of the season. It'll just get worse. So I think those tweaks are going to happen this offseason. I think that's going to make them better. And then you got Simone Nemitz. Nemitz is, if he's the guy in the playoffs, you can't take him out of the lineup. He's that good. If he's the guy at the beginning of the season, then you have a problem. Then I can understand the consternation, but you're looking at a guy who looked incredible in the playoffs. He just did. He just looked good. And then you got the left side, which is Luke Hughes. Jonas Siegenthaler is going to come back fully healthy. And Brendan Dillon, who he didn't have a good season. I'm not going to say he did it. But if he's your sixth defenseman, I don't think that's that bad. You're overpaying him, sure. But if he's laying the wood on people, if he's drilling people, then I'm fine with it. He's got to go back, because he was doing that at the beginning of the year. He was drilling people. And he kind of got away from what he was good at. And that's when the flaws started to get the magnifying glass over him. But if he's drilling people again, if he's putting the wood on some guys, I think that then you have six guys who do very different things, but they all mesh really well together. And I think you can get, like Sam, I think if Luke Hughes becomes what I think he could become, and Simone Nemitz becomes what I think he become, and that's just a second-line guy. If Nemitz is good enough to be a top 15 second-line guy, right? So like a top 45, 50 defenseman in the league. And Luke Hughes becomes a number one guy, like a top 20 to 25 guy, I think this could be a top 5 defense. I think that's their ceiling. It's really, like, everything has to go right. Nobody can get injured for that to happen. But it's there. So to put that defense on the bottom, and not say it's because of injuries, which if you said that I think everybody's going to get injured, I'd be like, at least that makes sense. But just to say, like, it's either it's make or break on Luke Hughes, it's just not true.
Well, going back to before when you were talking about Ryan McGill,
who's gone now? They replaced him with Brad Shaw, which makes it much better.
The problem I had, like, when the Devils were, it was like Jekyll and Hyde. 1 minute they're doing the basics. They were wonderful with their breakouts. It was quick. It was short. It was boom, 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 and carrying the puck into the offensive zone. The forwards, like, it was as smooth as it can be. And then there's times where I feel like, you ever see in football when the quarterback is like back to pass and there's nobody open and the D guy is just like waiting till somebody pressures, and then they just in the NFL the quarterback may just scramble aside and just throw the ball away. Sometimes I find like the Devils D, they just ice the puck. Just you know what I mean? It's like it's weird.
There's
Sometimes,
a lot of time.
Yeah, and the crowd is booing when they're behind the net and they're trying to figure things out and all that, and it just doesn't look it doesn't flow really well.
No, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. There were definitely flaws that need to be fixed, but I trust Sheldon Keefe as a head coach. I really like the Bradshaw hiring. I think that those two are going to put together a system that works really well. I think the tweaks that Sheldon Keefe made during the season really worked too. The Devils were never giving up a ton of goals. There were very few stretches where, there's a game here and there, but every team faces those games. But there were very few stretches where the team was letting up a ton of goals. And like you've mentioned, part of that is the goaltending. The goaltending was really good last year, but there was just I don't remember it ever looking as bad as some of those Lindy Ruff years. And Lindy Ruff, it was just a running gun system. That is just part of it. There's going to be odd man rushes in a running gun system. But I don't understand why people are so down, or anybody would be down on this defense. I don't. I think their floor, barring 4 injuries, I think their floor is a top 20 unit.
I would agree. 32 teams right now, top 20. Yeah. I would put them in the top 20.
I think the worst you're going to get is like the 18th best defense. But like the best you can get, if everything, and again, there's always extremes to this. It's very rare that you get the extreme. Like, here's the thing. I look back at the 22-23 season. That was the extreme for an offense under Lindy Ruff. Like, everything clicked. There was Dawson Mercer at his best season. Jack Hughes at his best season.
Nathan Basher was scoring.
Yeah, like everybody up and down the lineup. Eric Holla had a great season. It was just some years it just clicks and you hit that ceiling. And they hit the ceiling in 22-23. And they hit the floor in 23-24. Right? Everything went wrong in 23-24. I remember one of my favorite articles I ever wrote. And this is terrible. This just shows you what the Devils have been like since I took over Pucks and Pitchforks. But one of my favorite articles I ever wrote was I power ranked everything that went wrong in 2023-24. And I listed 10 things, and there was more. I could have went on. I could have went to 20. But there was 10 things that were like, this is like, the narrative of a season if this is all that happens. But there was 10 of them that just derailed everything. So you got a ceiling season, and then you got a floor season. And last year was about where I think the Devils should have been as far as where they ended up in the standings. But, of course, the injuries made them an afterthought in the playoffs. I think they were the 3rd best team in the Metropolitan as far as roster goes, as far as situational, as far as the coaching staff, as far as everything that you take from it. But, they just looked like they were an afterthought in the playoffs just because the entire team was injured by the time they got there. And then more people got injured in the playoffs. So,
dropping like flies, like games 1 and 2 and 3. It was just like...
Yeah. It was
timing,
Dylan, it was Kovacevic, it was Luke, I can't remember what order they went in, but they all got hurt in that series. So you basically... I remember there was one game where we were legitimately talking about Tobias Villano getting into a game. Because you already had Cholowski in the game. You already had Nemitz in the game. You already had... Because this is when Pesci... We didn't know if Pesci was going to play. It was game 4, right? Was game 4 the one where it was just catastrophic? Like, nobody practiced the day before, so we just had no idea. Like, we just thought everybody was out.
They were coming back in that game 4. They were down 3-0, if you remember that. Then I got in the costume. I went in late when it was 3-0, and then suddenly it's 3-2, right? And they had the momentum. It was just one bad play, and then it collapsed.
And that's something that they have to fix too. There's just a little bit of mental fortitude that I just want a little bit more, and I kind of expected a little bit more from a Sheldon Keefe team. I think a lot of it comes back to Sheldon Keefe. I think Sheldon Keefe's a really good coach. I think it was the right hire at the right time. I just look at it. It's almost like, remember when Florida let Andrew Burnett go, and then they hired Paul Maurice, and they're like, that was a terrible decision. Like, you're insane. Like,
Boy, were you wrong.
It's almost like it's the same thought I have, because like the other guy that Devils were looking at was Jay Woodcroft, and Woodcroft, gets let go by Edmonton, and they get over the hump. Chris Knobloch, is that the guy?
Yep.
Okay. Chris Knobloch has them in the finals 2 years in a row. Has this team looking as good as it's ever been since those, the Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier teams. Sometimes. So anyway, the point is that I when you were looking at it, it's like, well, we could have had Woodcroft. Anybody could have Woodcroft since then, and nobody's hired Woodcroft. I think there's a reason for that. So I think Keefe was absolutely the right hire. I think he's going to get this team to a really good place. What I have the utmost confidence in this defense. I think it's going to be a really good unit. The fact that people think it's a bottom of the barrel unit is psychotic to me. But I want to talk about the arena. Do you have anything else to say on the defense? Do we have any comments to go over?
I think John Sumner, and I agree with him, they're top 10 unit when healthy.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. It maybe not number 10, maybe 12. I mean, close enough, but I would agree with that statement.
Yeah, I think it's fair. And again, injuries weren't mentioned in the from what I remember, weren't mentioned in the write-up. I would accept being like, I think everybody's going to get injured again. Okay. Then you got to just prove you're not going to get injured.
Yeah.
That's fine. There were, again, we forget, because of how many injuries happened at the end of the season, we forget that they came in down Luke Hughes and Brett Pesce for a month to start the year. It was not a healthy unit. The only time it was healthy was in December. And it was the top unit in the league.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the arena for a sec, because I think we're getting a lot of chatter about this. I wrote an article this week talking about, it was Arena Week at Fansided last week. We're doing some theme weeks throughout the summer just to get some extra articles up about some different things. And I was like, you know what? I've been holding on to this Hoboken story for months, waiting for the right time to do it. I was like, Arena Week makes the most sense. So I wrote the story about, it was almost like felt like a book report, or it felt like a what are those called? We had to talk about a topic in school. I don't know, whatever. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. But I went back. I read a bunch of New York Times articles, which reminded me that the New York Times used to cover the Devils. That was an interesting realization. But the New York Times had a lot to say, and if you remember, that was the end of the Dr. John McMullen tenure. This guy loved this team. He loved the Devils. He hated being at the Meadowlands because, A, they weren't filling the arena because of the location. The location was even worse than it is today. It's still bad today, but it was even worse. There was no way to get there. One lane in, one lane out kind of situation. And you got people coming from all different directions. So it was just traffic nightmare. Coming in, traffic nightmare. Getting out every single time.
You forgot about the death merge. Do you remember the death merge?
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, where you got to go over I think you only have 100 yards or 200 yards.
Is that where the jersey slide? Is that where the jersey slide terminology came from?
I don't know, but I remember I had to be I'm in the left lane, and then I'm coming on a ramp, and I've only got 5 seconds to get over 4 or 5 lanes into that lane to get to the Meadowlands parking lot. And if you pass
Right.
it, then you know,
You got to do it all over.
I cut off a lot of people back in my day.
You just got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this was around 90, somewhere between 97 and 99. McMullen is sick of the I think it's called the Meadowlands Sports Commission. Maybe it had a slightly adjusted name, but that was the general consensus, the Meadowlands Sports Commission. It was a commission to cover the Meadowlands. They were giving him the runaround, probably charging him too much. So he put together a plan to move the team to Hoboken. And this wasn't, Sam, you probably remember this. This wasn't just like floating a name. This was like there was renderings done. There were really concrete plans. They were working with the city of Hoboken of how to make this work. They were trying to get public money from the state and the city to get an arena on the, I think it was on the Hudson. On the Hudson River.
It was actually waterfront property, if I remember correctly. And you had the New Jersey, the New York skyline, and you could literally work in Lower Manhattan and take a ferry to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Which was very attractive.
It was very attractive from a public transit opportunity. There was probably about 4 or 5 different public ways that you could get to the game from New York City and from some of the, from the Norks, from the Jersey cities, some of the major hubs in New Jersey. There was an uprising from the city, from a lot of the residents. They didn't want the arena. They didn't want the traffic that came with the arena. There were some local politicians who were really against it. And it just became a headache for McMullen. And he ended up selling the team because he didn't want to go to Newark because the Nets were going to Newark. That seemed like a done deal. It took longer than most people expected, but the Nets were going to Newark. And the Nets wanted the Devils to come too. They were already sharing arena. Getting 2 tenants really lowers the risk of moving to a city with no sports. It's 2 very different fan bases, basketball and hockey, so you get the best of both worlds. You get a lot of different fans, and maybe you could build both fan bases at the same time like you did with the Continental Airlines Arena. But McMullen was against it at first. He thought it would be the Nets arena and the Devils would feel like a tenant, which I understand, because that's kind of how the Nets felt. Like, ironically, when the Devils moved to Newark and the Nets eventually followed them there, I felt like the Nets felt like a tenant. You know what I mean? And then there was the Devils arena. So I think that was the concern. But McMullen ended up selling the team in, what was it, 2004, 2003, 2002, somewhere in that range?
03.
03. To the
No, I think it was after 2000. I think Yank Nets.
2000.
Yeah, I think Yank Nets were the owners for.
Yeah, so that's 2000, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking, actually, maybe they agreed to it before the Stanley Cup win.
They might
agree to
have.
it in March of the year.
Yeah, because I remember we knew that was McMullen's last hurrah at the parade. So because the first parade, he was kind of like getting the shaft because of the Nashville controversy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one was kind of like, we forgive you. You're the best. Now we know who you really are, which he loved the team. So.
Was he part of that Nashville thing, or was that just, I thought that was just like a Gary Bettman enterprise?
He was basically, Bruce Driver said this on one of our podcasts, that he was just basically using them for leverage. There was no way New Jersey was going to move. It was a bad arena deal with the NJSCA. I even remember as a fan when the Devils announced that they were moving, not renewing their lease, not wanting to have anything to do with the Meadowlands. We were the bastard stepchild in that divorce between the NJSCA and New Jersey Devils. And I'm glad it did not continue during the outdoor game, but I remember security used to if they, if a kid is going through the turnstile you can't bring food in, they would literally make them spit out their gum. Like it was that bad. Yeah, it was a really bad situation. Or somebody has a hat trick and someone throws a hat on the ice, they would actually book that guy or woman for throwing objects on the ice. It was really, really bad. You know, when I believe John Madden had a hat trick against the Rangers. I think maybe in the playoffs. I remember. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was in 2006, and they literally were yanking fans from the seats for throwing their hats on the ice for a hat trick. So, you know, only a real fan would remember that stuff.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I kind of want to look at that. I'm going to look into that because that's an article idea if I can get the right information. But what say you, Sam? Going back to 2007 when the Devils moved to Newark. If I give you a crystal ball, I say you could go back there and you could convince the Devils to either stay at the Meadowlands and grow with what the Meadowlands become. You could go to Hoboken, give that a shot. Be the main place in town, have that look of the New York City skyline, or keep things the way that they are. And go to Newark. What are you choosing?
You know that Newark deal is so team friendly because it's basically, technically speaking, the city of Newark owns the arena, but I think the Devils pay like $2 million, which is nothing, to have the benefits of 100% ownership of everything that goes on inside that arena. And I mean, there's no revenue share. I mean, there's no 30. It's just $2 million. And okay, you have the Rolling Stones there. It's all coming to me. You know, it's they make more money off of other events. The Devils are essentially an anchor.
Disney and Ice and all that stuff, yeah.
And they have full control of their destiny. They don't have to go to anybody. It's not like you have to go to like the NGSEA to, can we rent it out for this week? No, you don't have to do any of that. You're not a tenant. You have a partnership.
That's like I think that is part of the reason why. It's part of it. There's other reasons, but I think that's part of the reason why Harris Blitzer are so adamant about getting their own Sixers arena. That is solo, not a Flyers arena, because they see the benefits of owning the arena rights, right? They see the benefits of, we have a team. The team is the anchor here, but I want to book everybody from Billie Eilish to Sheryl Crow to Toby, he passed away, to I don't know, country singers. Give me somebody.
George Strait.
George Strait. Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
So I think that to get this diversified audience as well, to also see Sixers paraphernalia and Sixers advertising, I'm sure I without a doubt, I think somebody went there for the Who concert and probably bought Devils tickets because they're like, oh yeah, the Devils. Yeah, why not go to a game?
Especially when they're promoting the Jersey at every freaking concert.
Right.
Yeah. It's like you're trying too hard. Let's go further with the 76ers thing. They had this whole thing, which I was against, and I don't want to get into that, taking that arena to Center City, Philadelphia. And they were really working. I mean, they went deep with the city. But I think
the city voted on it.
Yeah.
Voted for it.
And do you know why I think they bailed?
I mean, there's public pressure.
No. Well, besides that, it wasn't worth their time when you've got an NFL team in the nation's capital. That is the mega. With the political arena, the money, the nation's capital, football, and then priorities changed. Priorities change.
Yeah, and now they're trying to get the stadium in DC proper.
Yeah, the old RFK Stadium site. So here's Harrison Blitzer with this conglomerate. They figured, you know what? Let's not extend our resources even more. Because remember, Harris, they had to kind of bend some rules. Harris had to bring in multiple partners on that Washington football team.
Dozens.
Deal. Yeah.
He has a ton of partners. Something like 40 or something. It's a lot.
Yeah, it was very creative. Let's put it that way. But here's a man that's living the dream. Kid from, I don't know, was it Chase, Maryland, or grew up in Maryland, and really, built up a world-renowned founder of Apollo Global, hedge fund, and then with his play money started to buy professional sports franchises around the world, no less. And then, but he's got
his best assets. He made so much of his worth is from these assets just growing.
But the 76ers, the valuation is so high. But really, you know what? I got to put my money where it counts is that new stadium. Hey, Flyers, we're in the same boat here. Let's do something. Let's cut a deal.
Right.
Yeah. We don't have time for this nonsense.
The Flyers own that arena, right? The Flyers own the arena. They own the Wells Fargo Center.
I don't think so.
No. I thought that's how it works.
I would like to say it's Comcast. Is it Comcast?
Comcast owns the whole conglomerate because they own. They have Xfinity Live, which is like the big party area in the middle.
Yeah, it's. That's a good question. So that's a good, or is it? Does the city own it? I don't even know.
I don't think that's the case. I don't think the city owns it like Newark. But again, like you said, it's so. But again, I don't. Did you answer my question? Where would you rather be?
If I had my choice, that waterfront Hoboken would be my first choice. I'm not going to lie to you. And that takes nothing what's going on with Newark. Because, number one, you've got New York City watching you. All eyes are on you. With all these LED displays now, that could be one heck of a marketing, But Newark has its advantages. You're near the airport, right? When you fly in from Newark, you got to see the Prudential Center upon landing. But at the same time, no one's really looking when you're on the plane, when you're landing. But you've got New York City, and just think of Devils Rangers, and you got these LED displays like they have, out in Vegas. And if you beat the Rangers like that Game 7, and it was supposed to be a barn, so the whole side was flat. It was red, the rendering. Now you replace that with LED displays. Think about the watch parties from a boat in the pier.
Right, because there was going to be a marina right outside the arena.
And you could take the path. You could take the path right to Hoboken.
It felt like certain college experiences. There's a feel I think of Arizona State. I think of Washington. There's a couple others where there's just these unique details about where their stadiums are. That because I think Washington's the one where you could drive your boat up to the stadium and then walk to the stadium. Arizona State has some features like that.
Beautiful campus, by the way.
Arizona State.
Yeah, when we went to the Mullet, where Beer Baron after the game went on a temper tantrum through campus. Yeah, we still have that video, by the way. It's hidden in the archives. It's actually set to private. Dubs is like, He's donating $5 via Super Chat for the Palat Jersey Fund. Yeah, because anytime I buy a jersey, the guy leaves before I receive it. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, or even a little bit after I receive it. And a lot of fans don't want Palat, and I don't like the jersey, so we want both. It's kind of double whammy. Both would go away. It's just a little inside joke here on the Let's Go Devils podcast. So
That's funny.
But yeah, I if I bought the team
What?
right now, no one, and there's a lot of, I'd be burning a lot of bridges. But in my fantasy world, if Dogecoin goes to like $2 million per coin, and I've got all this money, I would consider relocating from Newark to Hoboken and fulfill that dream. I would, just because the water, the laser light shows, the big LED screen on the side of the barn. I can smell the beer right now from Hoboken. Frank
And there's a
Sinatra,
lot
everything.
to.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot more places to go to dinner before the games. There's a lot more places to have a drink. There's a lot more places to party after the game. I love American whiskey. But
I do too.
it's that's the only game in town is that little strip right there.
Yep.
Nobody's going anywhere outside of there. Unless you go to Hobby's Deli, but that's not a game time thing. You know what I mean? Like, there's very little in Newark to go to. And if you look, if you go from the train station to the arena, it's about what, 4 blocks?
Train station to the arena. Well, I don't really know the blockage because you go through a building to get there, so I'd say a few blocks away.
It's anywhere between 3 and 6 blocks.
Okay.
I can't think of one food place besides that was it chicken that's on the other side of American whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, there's Reds, obviously.
Sure, but I'm saying before, like on the walk to the arena.
Yeah.
I can't think of one restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, there used to be it was the best sushi I've ever had. There used to be one in the Gateway, but the pandemic, they moved on. But they actually have the Meadowlands contract. They're the provider of sushi in the club.
Really?
Yeah. George, love George. His sushi is the best. I mean, his wasabi is actually chopped up from the plant itself. It's not that green paste stuff. Yeah.
Oh, well. All right. So, I think I go back and forth. So to continue our conversation, I ran a poll, Sam, with 500 votes. East Rutherford actually won. But the vote was, let me find the exact numbers. It was 33% East Rutherford, 30% Hoboken, and 29% North. I think I'm going with Nork just because it's the devil I know. And, our podcast is there. The train goes right there. But again, Hoboken, we would have figured it out, right? Or you would have figured it out more.
Oh, I would have figured, I mean, and also I would have had a park where you can actually tailgate as well. So, I think the Meadowlands thing, because of that outdoor game, God only knows what that poll would have been before the outdoor game. Because the outdoor game was such a success, just off the chart success. I missed the tailgates. I'm not going to lie. I love the tailgates back at the old Meadowlands.
The tailgate was so fun for the Stadium Series game.
Yeah,
it was just so fun. It's just, I was thinking, we talked about it after the Stadium Series game. I was like, we need to set up a tailgate for the Devils games, and it's just finding a location. All those parking lots won't allow it. That are right outside the arena. It's and once you get outside of Championship Plaza, you'd have to get your own permit. It's just not feasible. And
I'm going to interject here. My buddy Fred, like 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, was very close of getting a deal with one of the lots near the arena for one night we could tailgate.
interesting.
Yeah, again, I don't know if this is like flying under the radar with the city or whatever, but he had a plan. I'll have to ask him. I haven't talked to him in years, but there was a plan where we'd front the money to sell out the parking lot and invite our own people, and then we charge our own people whatever just for that one. Yeah, so again, this is, I believe it's during the Vanderbeek years when he planned this. So again, it went pretty far, though. It went really far from what I remember. But that would have been awesome. Just like have a one tailgate day. I would love to do that. If we could find a parking lot that'd be willing to take that risk with us, and the amount of planning and thinking, because what do you do with the garbage? Right now, I was having a talk with Mrs. Wu about this. Like, when you go to a Penn State game years ago, like, people were good about, keeping the parking lot clean from tailgating. Now, the younger generation, hate to call you out, but you're all a bunch of slobs. There's crap all over the place. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
that's
shame,
problem, right? That's why a lot of these things get banned, is because it's always the.
Well, you wonder why parking is so expensive for tailgating now. I mean, right. Why do you think the Meadowlands only allow you to go 4 hours prior? I mean, it takes me 2 hours to set up my gear.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, like West Virginia is a huge tailgating thing, and where people literally park their RVs the night before, but there's still a lot of rules. And colleges are a little differently because you have the problem with underage drinking, and I'm sure tailgates in professional sports have that issue too. But college is literally like 18 to 22 years old, so more than half of that is underage. But I will tell you this: I don't know. It's we're way over time now, so I'll wrap this up. But I wish, because we have the proof of concept, right, with East Rutherford. We have the proof of concept with Newark. I wish we had a proof of concept with Hoboken just to see it. I wish there was like an outdoor game or a specialty matchup that we could play in Hoboken. See what it would look like.
Here's an idea for an outdoor game. You want to hear it?
Sure.
Aircraft carrier in the middle of the Hudson. Devils Rangers. And put the rink on the runway.
Set up bleachers on both sides of the Hudson.
Yeah, or maybe it's more feasible at the Intrepid.
That comes up a lot.
Oh, it's just an idea. I mean, they've done it with basketball, haven't they?
They have, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's college basketball, so you're not losing as much of the revenue, and I think, I don't know if it's public, but I would imagine the Army is paying for that advertisement, right? It's part of their marketing budget.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a write-off. Maybe the team is saying it's a charity event, and it's like you're writing off whatever your ticket sales would be, $600,000, against your revenues. Listen, the teams aren't doing it for free, even if they are doing it for free, they're not doing it for free.
Or Woolman Rink. I mean, the Devils have control over that.
True. Devils
Rangers outdoor. That'd be great if they can bring it to Rockefeller Center. It will never happen, but it would be freaking.
Or like Central Park. Like Central Park would be dope, and that's big enough to like fit. It's just I don't know, because Shakespeare in the Park gets a couple thousand people, doesn't it?
I think so.
So, anyway, All right. That's all I got, Sam.
Oh, well, do you have anything to plug?
Yeah. But listen, we make a promise and we keep it. PucksandPitchforks.com is still publishing articles every single day. Right now, we've talked about both of these issues. I'm going to go into depth on the poll I ran and the 3 options. But we also talked about what new writer Damian Flores wrote about the Devils' most impactful off-season acquisition. Reasons why the Devils should still be considered Stanley Cup champion or Stanley Cup contenders. I wrote about the defense. We just talked about that. I wrote about a possible division realignment with the 84-game schedule and how it would end Devils rivalries. That's on pucksandpitchforks.com. I wrote about how the Devils are seeing it's harder to replace Eric Holla than they probably thought it would be. John Bailey wrote about an ex-Devils coach that's getting a new opportunity. Vinny Parisi came back to pucksandpitchforks.com. He wrote about 3 Devils who could still be traded before training camp. Andre Palat is on that list, so you better go get that jersey, Sam. I wrote about 3 star forwards who could become available before the start of the season. We got stuff on prospects. We got stuff on Jack Hughes' health. I wrote about Nate Bastian signing with the Dallas Stars. We wrote about the Hudson River rivalry. We talked about Keith Kincaid, who's trying to make it back to the NHL. We talked about Dawson Mercer. We talked about this article about which players are going to be the best players in the league in 2030, and all 3 Hughes brothers are in the top 20s. We talked about that. We talked about Jesper Bratt making the top winger rankings. Sam, we are doing it. We are doing the thing. There's articles upon articles. There are topics upon topics. We're talking about it. There's plenty of Devil stuff to talk about, and it's all at pucksandpitchforks.com.
Awesome. Also, I don't really have much to plug other than this upcoming season. We are planning for it here on the Let's Go Devils podcast. There's several dates that we're working on right now. Obviously, we are back at American Whiskey at 51 Edison Place, across the street from Prudential Center, next to Championship Plaza. We're gearing up Game Day Live and Devils After Dark. Game Day Live, we actually are scheduled at a wedding.
Ooh.
We are actually scheduled at a wedding for Game Day Live before the Devils take on, I believe, the Vegas Golden Knights at home. So we will have somebody at American Whiskey. We're probably going to have Beer Baron and American Whiskey. But we'll be at a wedding. And the Game Day Live and the Let's Go Devils podcasts are open for business. Anybody wanting us to broadcast from their cocktail hour, we're available. And if you need a DJ as well, we have a partner in DJ Shelley who has done our live events. Hey, do you want us to stream your wedding on the Let's Go Devils podcast? Things can be done.
Heck, hey, yeah. If you pay enough, we'll get Arlette to sing.
Yeah. Just let me know. You need a couple players there during your cocktail hour? Let us know. It's just going to cost you an arm and a leg, but hey, just let us know. See what we can do. So we're doing weddings now. Sooner or later, we're going to do bar and bat mitzvahs. We're going to do, graduation parties. We're going to do divorce parties. Yeah, birthday parties, divorce parties. Yeah, promotions.
Listen, yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah. Also, big shout out to David Decker at Town Toyota in beautiful Ledgewood, New Jersey. Yes, Town Toyota. Toyotas. That's where the Let's Go Devils podcast get their Toyotas. That's where Let's Go Devils podcast fans get their Toyotas. David Decker has probably sold more Toyotas through this podcast than any other medium out there where they advertise. He just says the people keep on coming, and I think he's going to close a couple deals in the next few days. David Decker at Town Toyota in beautiful Ledgewood, New Jersey. Tell him that Nick and Sam Wu sent you. All right, and also, yes, I do cameos as well. Bachelorette parties, yes, as well. Yeah. Anyway,
We'll do your vasectomy party. It doesn't matter.
yeah. You know what? Look, all money is green. We like money.
Well, that's what, Sam. This is what I told people. Some people ask me like, "It's like, are you gonna get one?" I was like, "Yeah," because my wife said that I could get a second bachelor party for my vasectomy party. So if you want the Let's Go Devils podcast at your vasectomy party,
can we broadcast from your vasectomy party?
Sure. You're going to be invited. I got to figure out. I got to schedule it.
Yeah, and then we can post on social media all the snippets, if you know what I mean. All right. Not that we're being punny there. Yeah. All righty. Well, we're out of here. Dropping the podcast at midnight. Keep it here. Keep it real. The Let's Go Devils podcast at PutstonPitchforks.com. Till next time, let's go Devils.